Hello, everyone, and welcome to our weekly podcast with the sports writers. Phil Stacey, Matt Williams, Nick Giannino, and Nick Kukuru are here with us. I'm Bill Newell from MSO News Sports. And gentlemen, let's just begin with high school hockey, or actually, let me back up. COVID and some restrictions going on around the North Shore for the high schools. Why don't we start with there? What's happened so far? Because there are some events without fans now since the resurgence of the Omicron strain.
You want to take it, Cooks?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so I think Gloucester's the first one to take those steps, right? I haven't heard any other place I don't want to say banning fans, but only immediate household family members are allowed to attend Gloucester games at the moment. And yeah, I mean, that kind of really put a hit in the crowd this weekend at Talbot Rink, yesterday at the Smith Fieldhouse too. Those are usually some big events to take in, the Bank Gloucester Holiday Hoop Tournament and the Cape Ann Savings Bank Holiday Hockey Tournament. But that's the way it's going to be for the foreseeable future. So we just have to deal with it.
Yeah, I was down at Talbot along with Nick, and yeah, there were definitely smaller crowds there, but I do see other area athletic directors kind of following the lead by Brian LaFata down in Gloucester. I think, somebody had to be the first one to do it, and Brian stepped up and decided he was going to do it with a couple of tournaments right after Christmas, at least until we get through the worst of this. Probably going to see spikes because of the holidays, people gathering and all. So I think it might be a smart thing to do. It's better than no fans, certainly, which is what we saw for a lot of last year. At least we're having parents come in, or grandparents, things like that. But I do think we'll probably see it for a little while. As far as actual cases, it's hit St. John's Prep fairly hard. Their hockey team they had to play 2 games last week with -7 guys. They played back-to-back their own in the Pete Frady's Winter Classic, lost to BC High, came back the next day and shut out Central Catholic. So that was what Coach Christian Hansen called a real gut check win for them. But their basketball team is out this week because the Commonwealth Motors Classic up in Andover was postponed because of COVID-19 positives among the teams that are taking part in that. The hockey team is off this week because their game with Andover, scheduled for Wednesday night, is off for the same reason. So just looking to get kids healthy, which is the number one priority. Obviously, you can always reschedule the games. Masconomet had a hockey game rescheduled last week with Newburyport. It wasn't a Masconomet issue, it was a Newburyport issue. So they're hoping to play that sometime in January. I know Beverly boys hockey is going through. They're missing a bunch of kids. They're still playing, but they're missing, I think, 6 or 7 boys. And clearly that hurt them in losing back-to-back games in the recent Cape Ann Savings Bank tournament. They were shut out, in fact, both games. 6-0 to Barrington, Rhode Island, and then 4-0 to Marblehead on Monday night. So teams are going to be, when you test, you're going to find people that are positive, whether they're asymptomatic or not. You just have to find a way to get through it. And maybe the new CDC guidelines, where it's only a 5-day quarantine period instead of 10, will help get some of these athletes who tested but aren't showing symptoms back in their lineups earlier. They're healthy. They can keep everyone around them healthy, and they can keep these games going.
Phil, I know you mentioned the Commonwealth Motors Tournament. We've been asked to add shopless last. So we just got to stick that in there just so the fans know. Shopless last.
All right. Well, to quote the background on Willie's column, Billy's picture there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Matt, who's behind you there on the dock up at Lake Winnipesaukee?
Mr. Savage, that this was the Christmas gift in the annual Salem News swap, and now it must be shared, for all to enjoy.
Actually, Mr. Poffo, but Savage is his layman's name. Yes.
All right. So I digressed right away after we started off by going into the COVID situation. So let's go into the boys hockey situation now. And Phil and Nick, what can you share with us, and Matt as well on that front?
Nick, you want to start with, well, I think we just lost Nick.
Oh boy.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, Gloucester looked great in winning their own Cape Ann Savings Bank tournament. They beat Marblehead 5-2 on Sunday night, came back and won a shootout with Barrington, Rhode Island on Monday, 7-5. Emerson Marshall, who's got 14 points in 4 games, was the tournament MVP, got the game-winning goal against Barrington. He's off to a great start. Brett Cunningham, I think, has 11 points for Gloucester. Jack Costanza's off to a good start for them. They're getting good goaltending from Tarantino. So Gloucester's 4-0. They're playing very, very well. And here's Nick back again. I didn't know how long we'd lose you for, Nick, but I was letting people know about how well Gloucester played during the Cape Ann Savings Bank tournament.
I think we might have muted you. We're good now. Thanks. I'm sorry.
Good now. Okay, nice. Sorry, I had some connection issues, but I think I got them solved. I mean, yeah, they were off to a real good start. 12 goals in 2 games. A little bit sloppy yesterday against Barrington in the finals. That was a real sloppy game. I thought on both sides, just back and forth, scoring chance after scoring chance. I know Gloucester, Derek Geary was a little frustrated at the end. I think you probably referring to Barrington tied the score with about 5-6 minutes left in the third. It was a shorthanded goal that Barrington cleared all the way down, and Gloucester just kind of got caught napping. Nobody went up and touched the puck, and it rattled all the way around the boards, and a Barrington kid got it, went in all alone and tied the score. It was a real odd play, but they had 4 power play goals yesterday. Emerson Marshall scored the game winner with just under 2 minutes left. He had 2. He got the tournament MVP as well. He's off to a pretty ridiculous start. He's got 10 goals in 4 games to start things off right now. Jack Costanzo, he was back this weekend too. He missed the first 2 games of the season, but he had 7 points in 2 games over the weekend. He was also an all-tournament team selection. So yeah, I mean, they're kind of rolling right now, 4-0. They got undefeated Linfield coming up this weekend. I know they were supposed to have a really big test last week against Woburn, but Woburn kind of had a little outbreak on their squad, so they had to postpone that game. But yeah, I mean, that was Gloucester's first tournament since 2017, only their third ever since the tournament became a thing in 2007. So big performance from them.
Costanzo was telling Derek Geary after that late game Sunday night, Nick, that he apologized he didn't do better. I think he had 3 or 4 assists in the game, and he said, I ate too much at Christmas, and then I ate the leftovers that morning. I was too much gravy, too much mac and cheese. He was full, so he obviously played well enough to get those 7 points in 2 games there. So
he got a hat trick last night.
Yep.
I think we can relate to overeating on Christmas, so.
Well, I mean, elsewhere in boys hockey, we talked about St. John's being shut down. Marblehead got their first win. They had been having some goaltending issues, and they're really having problems, honestly, keeping out of the penalty box. I think they've been 5-on-3 every game this year. Gloucester scored 2 such goals against them on Sunday night, and it happened again Monday night against Beverly, but they were able to hold them off and win that game 4-0. Shut up for Nick Peters. Marblehead, their upcoming schedule looks somewhat favorable, so they could turn things around quickly. At least we hope that they can. Beverly's had a bit of a rough patch. They've lost 4 in a row after winning on opening night. They've been shut out in back-to-back games after losing 2 one-goal games, and they go up against Melrose in a non-leaguer on Wednesday. So Beverly's got to make some changes, whether it's switching the lines around, or they tried changing up goalies. Jimmy O'Connell came in for Dylan Hunter the other night, and he started on Monday night. Maybe mixing up the defense. I mean, they only have 4 defensemen right now because of the COVID outbreak, but they're not scoring and they're not playing great defense. So they got to find some ways to get things turned around there. Masconomet still undefeated. They are going, or they did Tuesday night. They went down to Stoneham to play Division I Billerica in the Stoneham Holiday Tournament. Same with Bishop Fenwick. They're looking for their first win after a couple of 1-goal losses to start the year. They're in the Catholic Memorial Christmas Tournament against Bishop Fien, which will continue on Wednesday. Danvers is in the Chelmsford Lions Cup on Wednesday night. They're off to a surprising 3-1 start, so they're playing pretty well. By the time we hear this, it'll be over. But tonight, Tuesday night, Swampscott and Hamilton Wenham are facing off against each other in the League Cup Christmas tournament. Both of those teams are 2-2. Swampscott had started 0-2. They've won their last two, and then Hamilton Wenham knocked off Rockport last night, Monday night, I should say, to get into the championship game. So good for those teams. And last but not least, Essex Tech will play North Reading on Wednesday night at home, 6:30. And then they're playing at Warrior Arena in Brighton, home of the Bruins practice facility, beautiful practice facility the Bruins play at. They're going to play Swampscott New Year's Day there, and head coach Mark Leonard, should they beat North Reading on Wednesday night, has a chance for his 250th career win against his good buddy Gino Fayer of Swampscott on Saturday. So, a lot of good stuff happening, as always, in North Shore boys hockey.
Yeah. Matt Williams, do you want to pick up at all on any of that? Go beyond?
Well, I did catch one thing. Is it I think you mentioned the Fenwick start was a little surprising. I mean, is it? I guess I didn't pay attention to them last year, but I feel like Jimmy Quinlan's been building. They had some tournament success. I kind of what's this, his fourth year or something like that? I mean, they should be a factor in Division I. I mean, obviously it's going to be hard with those Super 8 teams in there, but I figure this is like the sweet spot for them to really start making some noise.
You would think so, but they don't have a go-to scorer. I think, there's the possibility that Manny Alvarez-Segui could be that guy, a young guy. But graduating Cam Martin, he was kind of the go-to guy last year. It seems to me they have a lot of very similar players, small, very fast forwards, good through the neutral zone, sometimes have a little bit of a difficulty finishing in the offensive end, whether that's strength on the puck, getting in front of the net, getting clean shots off, not getting rebounds. There could be a myriad of things there, but a lot of talented guys, but they haven't found a way to put it together yet. 2 goals in 2 games and playing the schedule that they do, that's not going to cut it. So they need to find a way to get off the scoring schneid fairly quickly. They're hoping to do so again. It would have been a final by the time you hear this podcast, but playing Bishop Fee on Tuesday, and then either Catholic Memorial or I can't think of the other team in that tournament on Wednesday. You want to start seeing the goals coming for Fenwick, and hopefully the wins do as well, because I got good goaltending with John Millman and Dylan Bloom, 2 guys they can count on. They got a pretty strong defense led by the captain, Ken Muniz of Gloucester. They just need to find a line and or certain players who can start putting the puck in the net with regularity.
Sort of interesting, similar players, maybe that's the way the coach wants to build the team. Almost sounds like a college deal there. Sort of interesting how that transpires, but I do think they're cooking over there. And again, some of the success they had that was surprising in that Division I playoff now 2 years ago and 3 years ago, I guess I just figure, hey, they're going to build on that and keep getting better. But on the girls' side, it just seems like many of our teams haven't been playing very many games. It really hasn't been a lot going on. We got some action on Monday. Speaking of the Catholics, Beverly is hosting Malden Catholic. That should be an interesting game. As we all know, as some of us don't know, some of the people in podcast land are probably saying, wait, Beverly, Malden Catholic girls, that doesn't make any sense, right? But MC has girls now. They got girls sports and a partner school there and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how good that team is. I mean, they're sort of an expansion team, right? But in girls hockey, you get a few good players and you all of a sudden you hit the ground running. So that should be an interesting game for the Panthers there at home. And then later on in the day, Peabody and Winthrop will play for first place in the Northeast League, both undefeated at this juncture, and should really be a good barometer for both teams at the early part of the season. They split their meetings last year, went 1-1 against one another. That was Peabody's only loss. And, just always a good game when those two face off against each other. And of course they'll play later on in the season. That one may or may not decide the championship. We don't really touch on Newburyport too often on the podcast, but the Newburyport girls are a very good team. They also look like they'll be in contention for that title atop the league, but certainly Peabody and Winthrop on Wednesday will be one to watch. One of the real good girls games of the early going here.
Willie, just getting back quickly to Bishop Fenwick, when you talk about scoring, I just took a minute to look it up here. No player for Fenwick has more than 4 career goals at the varsity level.
Wow.
Which kind of tells you maybe why they're having trouble scoring. I mean, I mentioned Manny Alvarez-Segui. He's got both of their goals this season. He's got 4 for his career, and that puts him in the clubhouse lead. Max Vieira has 3 goals in his career. You get a couple of guys, Kennery Muniz, I mentioned, fellow defenseman Mike Faraghi. They each have 2 goals. And then you have a kid like Mark Wilson has 1 goal in his career. So there's a lot of guys who have not, had the success of putting the puck in the net with any kind of regularity. And I think, at least in the early season, that they're trying to work their way through that to find out a way to do that.
Yeah, easier said than done, that's for sure. Looks like, I'm just looking at my line charts here, a good number of seniors too. So maybe, obviously last year's shortened schedule didn't help, right? If they were seeing their first time as juniors, maybe they would have scored a little bit more if they played 20 games or something. But, with some upperclassmen, you'd like to see maybe a little bit more on the career ledger, but, it could come in time, certainly.
Well, it's funny for my hockey column that runs each Wednesday, the one that I wrote today that'll run on Wednesday is for the first time in a long, long time, I think we could have a season without someone reaching 100 career points. I mean, we always seem to get at least 1 or 2 guys, if not more in some years, that hit that century mark. But there's really only one player with a shot to do it. That's David Egan of Essex Tech, and he's going to need 37 points. I think they have 16 regular season games left, plus any playoff games they have. So that's better than a 2-point per game clip, which is doable, but not certainly you can't put that, write that in ink and say it's going to happen. So I do think a lot of that is because last season was so shortened, and there's a number of factors. Goalies are better, defenses are more designed to shut down and clog up players, or guys don't get to the net enough, or more balanced scoring, whatever. But he's really the only guy that's got a shot at that 100 points this year.
Well, I mean, I guess that doesn't include how many Gloucester have 2 guys with 100 now, or did they reach it last year anyway?
Jack Costanza did. He's got what, Nick, about 118 right now, I want to say?
He's got 118 right now. He actually just moved. He just jumped up from a tie for 10th to 7th all-time program scoring list. So he's got a little ways to go. He's got 13 more points to get past EJ Field, and he is 16 points behind Andrew Fulford, 17 behind Jason Harrington. So he's probably going to creep up in there. 161 is 3rd. That might be too much of an ask to get up to
Paul Muniz, right?
Paul Muniz, yeah. And then you got Mario Orlando.
Of course, Mario Orlando and Daryl Sepler are untouchable. But
they're at 221 and 215. Those are not getting touched probably anytime.
No.
If you're that good, you're not sticking around anymore.
No.
Let's go to basketball. Nick Giannino, update us on the boys basketball from around the North Shore.
Sure. Yeah. Let's.
That was a 3 throw. That was just a 3 throw by Phil.
That was a jumper.
Oh, okay.
Good follow through there.
I didn't see you elevate that much, Phil. I'm sorry. I thought it was just a
free
throw.
That is like when I jumped in high school. You could slide a piece of paper under my feet.
8 by 11, 8.5 by 11. Yeah.
I like to start with the Gloucester Invitational Tournament, and Kukru was over there yesterday, Monday, as we're recording this on Tuesday, and couple upsets, I guess you could say, couple results that we weren't expecting. We saw Danvers beat Hamilton Wenham. They got off to a great start in that one. I think it was 20 to 8 in the first quarter. Danvers hit 10 threes. This is a team I've seen a couple times now, and obviously very inexperienced, young team trying to kind of find their identity. But they play hard, and they've been battling. They haven't really gotten blown out per se, except for one game to Beverly early on. But they've been battling and kind of showing flashes of good basketball, and they finally got their first win over a Hamilton Wenham team who's largely in the same boat. A lot of guys that didn't see varsity time a season ago. They're kind of relying on a new group. Obviously, they have Marcus Norden back, and he led them in scoring again. believe he's led them in scoring every game this season. But Danvers was able to come out on top in that one. And then in the other matchup, and Nick, you can talk a little bit about this one, but Gloucester beat Manchester Essex, which I thought was a big surprise because I saw Gloucester play earlier in the season and they weren't able to do much of anything against Peabody. Peabody took care of them pretty handily. So where we thought we might see the Hornets against the Generals in the finals, we got the Falcons against the Fishermen. And that's going to be, obviously, that game will be over by the time you guys probably listen to this tomorrow. But just to have those two teams in the finals is pretty surprising.
Yeah, I think Manchester Essex coach Tim St. Laurent, I mean, he actually kind of summed it up really well on Monday night. He just said, the NEC is more physical than the Cal, and that was kind of what did Manchester Essex in. And Gloucester's not one of the more physical teams in the NEC by any means, but it is a bit of a different animal, a different style of play than the Cal. The Cal's a lot more, shooting, a lot more running gun, whereas the NEC is a lot more half court stuff. A lot more of a rock fight in that conference. And that's what we saw. Manchester Essex, that was their first loss. They're 4-1 now. They've been out without their senior captain, AJ Palazzola, for the duration of it. He was an all-league point guard a year ago. And I thought when I saw him, they were expecting him back against Gloucester for the tournament yesterday and today. But when I saw him still in street clothes, I'm thinking, that's kind of the great equalizer in this matchup. Gloucester kind of has some areas that they could take advantage of without him in the lineup. With Palazzola, he's not a big time scorer, but he's such a good athlete and he's such a good ball handler. He kind of opens up shots for their other guys and just really opens up the whole floor for them. It was a bit of a setback. I think Manchester Essex, we'll see what they have against Hamilton Wenham today. That should be a good game. It always is. It's a nice little rivalry. I don't think they're the two biggest fans of each other, which is always nice
sure.
on the floor too. And I guess you could say the same about Gloucester and Danvers. I don't know if the basketball rivalry runs very deep. They met in the tournament a couple years ago, but they have been good games when they've played. I know they went to double overtime in the state tournament the last time there was a state tournament. So, should be a good one both ways.
And similar teams. I know you mentioned the NEC kind of more, defensively oriented, half court offenses, low scoring games, that kind of thing. I think both Danvers and Gloucester want to grind defensively, want to force turnovers. And that's what Danvers was able to do against Hamilton Wenham. And when Danvers is shooting the ball well, they have a few capable shooters on their team. This kid, Quentin Shares, has been leading them, I believe, in 3 straight games now in scoring. So just speaking of Chris Timpson, they were looking for a guy to kind of step up and lead the offense, attack on the offense, and kind of have one of those go-to guys. And Quentin Shares is kind of separating himself a little bit from the rest of the group in terms of scoring the ball. He's a confident shooter and he's been able to get some things done. But yeah, I think that'll be a good matchup. And like I said, obviously the result will be decided when you guys listen to this, but I expect a pretty close contest in that one.
It always makes me laugh when you use the phrase "scoring the ball" as opposed to just scoring.
Yeah, that's a thing. I don't know. I didn't make it up. It's
no, I know you didn't.
But
this is the newfangled basketball terminology with plus minus and every metric you can think of and blah blah blah
True.
blah blah, right?
Yeah, the plus minus is becoming big on the analytics side of things, especially in the NBA, but we don't tend to look at that too much in the high school game.
No, we do not.
No, but yeah, in terms of other teams, Bill, I think the NEC is still kind of wide open. Obviously, you got Beverly as the clear favorite, but I don't think they're a world beater by any means. They got some great talent, don't get me wrong, and some guys coming in from either from JV or from the varsity team that are seeing their minutes increased a lot this season that are, capable of stepping up. And, they got some good players. Don't get me wrong, Beverly. But when I look at a Beverly team from, 2 years ago with Jack Crowley and Duncan Moreland, I'd like to think that team would beat this Beverly team pretty handily. And obviously you don't have Lynn English and Lynn Classical in the NEC anymore. So I think the NEC, not wide open, but there's definitely a handful of teams that can contend for a title. I think Peabody's playing a lot better. They just got their second straight win the other day over Pioneer. Granted, probably not their best competition, but they've looked good. obviously, yeah, you got Beverly, you got Masco, who's got some good players. Matt Richardson, the quarterback of the football team there, he's been playing some good hoop for them. Marblehead is another team that, if they had some of these football players, a lot of these guys that were stars on their Super Bowl football team decided not to come out for the team. So they've kind of had to do some plug and play there, but they're battling too. They got some good talent, play good on the defensive end. So it's gonna be interesting.
You got Tom Doyle. You got Tom Doyle's Salem team sweeping through the state of
That's the
Florida.
team I want to see, because I feel like they haven't
Yep.
played anybody because of that Florida trip. So like we can see like, well, Masco blew out Peabody, but got blown out by Beverly, and we can kind of mix and match, right? But so far, there's really nothing to mix and match with Salem. They're a little bit of an enigma so far. So I'm
Right.
excited to see how they match up with some of these teams.
Right, 3-0 down in Florida. We don't know what the competition was like there, but anytime you can go 3-0 in a tournament against teams from all over the country, that's pretty impressive. And then they come home and they beat Danvers very handily. One thing I've noticed too about a lot of these teams is they're not very big. We don't have a lot of teams with a traditional center, a lot of guards, a lot of shooting from the outside, which can be fun to watch. But when these teams are not hitting, it can be a low-scoring defensive battle. Salem's one of those teams. I got to see Bishop Fenwick the other day, was very impressive, and they don't have a guy over probably 6 feet, 6'1", and they just beat you with speed and get deflections. They jump the passing lanes. They get out in transition. They can shoot. So Fenwick's going to be a fun team to watch. They haven't lost a game yet either.
I think in some ways it mirrors college basketball, right? Because your big guys, they want to shoot because they know they're going to have to shoot at the next level, So, I
Right.
mean, just take Ryder Frost and Beverly, for instance. He's listed at 6'5".
Yep.
15 years ago, he's backing people down in the paint, pretending to be Robert Parrish or something. And now he might be his team's best 3-point shooter.
Right.
So I think it's just kind of mirrors the way the game has changed at every level.
And at 6'5", he's probably one of the bigger kids in the NEC.
Oh, for
But
sure.
like you said, he's not going to use that size in the paint. I mean, obviously he can use it defensively and use it to get his shot off and things like that. But yeah, the style in which these guys are playing is much different now.
Can I ask you a question about Beverly? Having not seen them, but being a Beverly native, I hear tons about them.
Sure.
What is the resiliency factor there? And I ask that being, okay, they lost to St. Mary's in the opener, pretty good game from what I hear, close
Yep.
play at the end, whatever, inbounds, controversy, whatever. And it's pretty common knowledge that they are the best team in the NEC and they should get through the league with no problem, although they had a tough run against Peabody. Give Peabody a ton of credit. They gave them a tough game.
Yeah.
But what is the resiliency factor there? I mean, to me, I'm listening to what you guys are saying, and you need somebody banging the boards. You need somebody that can be that inside post player. I don't need 5 perimeter shooters. I need somebody that's going to grab tough rebounds. I need somebody that's going to throw an elbow underneath, fighting for a loose ball. I need somebody that's going to get, an and one under the basket in tough times. Do they have that when they're going up against this killer non-league schedule they have? And let's not forget, they're a Division I playoff team. So there are going to be no cupcakes when they
Right.
get to the postseason. Do they have the toughness, for lack of a better word, or whatever word we should be using at the end of 2021, do they have the toughness to have the kind of successful season that maybe they should?
Well, I think they do. I think they do have guys that are tough and that can, crash the boards and beat you up a little bit in the paint. They just don't have that traditional center position where that guy's going to be doing that every time up the floor. I think, a guy like Gabe Copeland, you guys saw him in football. He's a big kid, strong. He can get after it a little bit on both sides of the ball. Nick Bragyanka, soccer standout. He's a terrific athlete, got a little bit of height to him, a little bit of muscle. Those two guys kind of stick out to me. And then Nick Fox, who also played soccer, they can go to him a little bit. He's another big kid. So they have that physicality factor. I think they just don't have, they're not going to be throwing it into the post and running, plays through their big man. It's just a different style of offense, but that doesn't mean that these guys can't, get into the paint and, scrap for loose balls and that kind of thing.
I get what you're saying. I mean, the game has obviously changed. I mean, post play is almost like the equivalent of sacrificing in baseball. People just don't do it anymore. but I still think there's a toughness that has to come within a team for it to ultimately be successful. I don't mean like picking fights or playing dirty or anything like that. I just mean that you have to have an edge, or you have to have something to back up any swagger you might have, that kind of thing. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
It's one thing to go out. I mean, I know everybody wants to play like Golden State these days. It's the way the game is. It's a 3-point game. I get that. I just think there has to be a little bit of steak behind the sizzle, if that makes sense. And again, I haven't seen them. I can't say for myself, but from what I'm hearing, that might be a missing ingredient. And it's still early enough in the season for them to get it. And they seem very talented, so I hope that they do. But now is the time that they have to get that, I think, so that come playoff time, they can, they can respond to any adversity they might face.
Right, and I agree with you. And I also think you touched upon their strength of schedule a little bit. They're going to have some really tough teams, so we're going to see what they're made of long before the playoffs. What?
I think they play CM next week. I mean,
yeah, they do.
That's not a big test, and what is?
Right, but I think Matt Karakoutis, the head coach there, has kind of built a brand of basketball that he wants these kids playing hard. If they're going to be, lackadaisical at any point in the game, he's going to take them out. He's not shy about that. So I think in terms of that they're going to be grinding. They're going to be that type of team. But it's an interesting point, and we're going to see how it shakes out against some of these really tough teams. And Willie, I'll let you add to that real quick. I know you had something to say, but I do want to say St. John's Prep is the one team in the area that I've seen that actually utilizes their big men and play inside out. They got two guys, Mike O'Brien and Kyle Webster, who kind of bang in the paint for them, and they'll run their offense through them a lot of times. They'll dip it down low to them, and if they don't have the shot, they'll kick it out for the three, but they work inside out rather than outside in like these other teams.
Well, Kyle was a big time lineman for the Prep, and he's used to battling in the trenches. So for them, it should be a picnic in basketball.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear that they do that.
Yeah. And DeLay knows. He says, this is how we're going to have to play. We're going to have to beat teams in low scoring games, work it into the paint, and play that kind of style.
Always has, right? I mean, I remember the O'Neill brothers. I think one of them's playing at like Johns Hopkins or something, trying to be a doctor somewhere in Chicago.
Harvard,
or something.
I think Harvard.
Yeah. So I mean, they've always kind of done that. But I think on Beverly, I think they have the toughness physically, and they're developing the toughness mentally. And like Nick said, I think Coach K is really good about using the minutes. If you're losing your head a little bit, he'll yank you and teach you a lesson type of thing. So I think
you saw it in that game against Peabody, right?
Anything that might be missing, I think it certainly is something that he's aware of and that he's trying to impart on his guys. And obviously it's good to develop depth that way too. So I think I do think he's definitely one of the brighter guys that we have, and I think he's going to plan, not for just this game, but for 20 games, right? That he's trying to build towards something. He might make decisions, on minutes in one game that, well, maybe this isn't for today, guys. This is for, 2 months from now. I think he's really got a long-term vision, and certainly, those issues, I think he knows how to correct them and at least has a plan to try to do it. That's for sure. It seems to me.
Well, certainly, I mean, Matt Karakoutis and, we talked about John DeLay too. They're two of the great basketball minds in the area. I don't think anybody would question that. And it's not just thinking about the here and now, it's thinking long-term. It's thinking about how are we going to be better next month? How are we going to be playing come tournament time? How are we going to succeed in the playoffs? That kind of thing. I guess that was my original point. Like, can they make those necessary changes physically, whether it's mentally or on court or whatnot, to allow them to have the kind of success they hope to have long-term?
Phil, let me just add that Peter Wynn is not going to be coming through the door over at Beverly High School. That big inside presence.
And I wonder if any of our three friends here have any idea who Peter Wynn is.
Exactly.
Let me take a stab at this one. Was he part of that Beverly team that went against? Was it Patrick Ewing? No.
Bing.
Yeah, well, he was around that time. Right?
Well, no, 11-year-old Philly boy. at the Henry Cabot Lodge Fieldhouse, watching Peter win against one Patrick Ewing, Cambridge
That's
Rings
right.
and Latin.
Well,
Crazy.
Salem had the same thing against Ewing. Victor Mannion, who was even much smaller than he was only 6
Ah.
feet. He was their big center back in that time against Ewing. Another story. That's another story for another day because our time is just about up here. But yeah, Peter Wynn under Coach Keith Arnold years ago. They had some great battles
Yeah.
with Marblehead and
Yes,
Swampscott
yes,
at
they
the
did.
time. Of
Yeah.
course, Salem and so on. So, Phil, we really only have 30 seconds, but I'll let you take that 30 seconds for anything else you need to mention. We have a hard out coming up here. So,
Well, I just want to say Happy New Year to everyone. As we end 2021 and look forward to 2022, and we're in the second phase of this pain in the rear end, virus, but hopefully we get through it and we get back to some normalcy, even more so, and for a longer duration in 2022. So Happy New Year to all of our listeners and the coaches and players and fans and whatnot. And we look forward, all of us, to bringing you a great 2022 No Show Sports season.